Honestly, why I dropped out of school, being a girl, dressing like this, it just getting along with other students, and just I guess I wasn't mature enough and didn't have my mind straight yet.
Couldn't get a job, just running with the wrong crowd, being involved in things I shouldn't have been involved with.
I never had teachers that motivate me the way teachers here do.
And for the first time, I felt like I had meaning. My life had meaning, and there was hope there.
This program is part of American Graduate. Let's make it happen. A public media initiative made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
The kids who are our highest achievers, they've got this wide, pristine interstate highway that they can travel all the way through their four-year college degree, then transition into a career or to graduate school. The kids for whom that route isn't the best, they've got this side system with roads that people say, oh, nobody's going that way because everybody's going to four-year college degree. That side system has detours and potholes and roads without street signs, and kids just get lost in it.
There's a lot of challenges that our young people face that are real tangible issues that any adult would have difficulty managing from one day to the next. And these are 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old young people trying to negotiate and navigate that while still getting their high school diploma.
Young people in environments where resources are really scarce have experienced a lot of interaction with other people who are trying to deal with scarcity. And people just, to survive, have had to be dishonest in times.
I was going down the wrong path. I actually got in trouble, which is what made me come to this program and actually helped me change.
I went to prison at 17. Got locked up. Was gone for 3 years, came back, and just was ready to get my life going in the right direction.
And what you then find is that young people growing up in these environments don't trust anybody. Well, these young people who have learned they can't trust anybody will act out pretty badly to just see if you're going to give up on them. And if you don't, then you're over the hump. But we have to give young people opportunities where they can test. And sometimes they're going to break a lot of rules in testing. But if we still don't give up, then they will give up on trying to test you. And they say, okay, I guess you really do want to help me. How are we going to do this?
As I begin to sort of study young people who get in trouble with the law or who have been pushed out of school or have dropped out of school, I've come to realize that it is that emotional connection with a caring adult that matters the most in terms of making a difference in the life of a young person who has left school.
For a young person who potentially has been court involved and say they owe a fine to the court or they owe a fine to their victim, to the victim of a crime, it's difficult for them to figure out how they're even going to make that work. Those are weights on a young person's back that they don't need to carry around and that are not helpful to them. And when there's an adult there beside them to help them believe that they can clear that off their record, or that they can get on the other side of a really tough issue or an issue that they thought was going to weigh them down forever, then their whole life changes.
Yes, I had a lot of support by YouthBuild. Anytime I felt down or felt like, I didn't have, a way out of something, I had a lot of people at YouthBuild, staff and all that, to guide me through what I was going through.
This school, the only thing I could say different is very unique. The teachers, they always there for students. They never put you down. They always motivating you. I never had teachers that motivate me the way teachers here do.
I think that so many young people who are challenged, who are challenging, are also those young folks, if we can find the right way to engage them, who really fire them up, have this endless potential. Because many of those young people, once they get over the anger and frustration of the system that failed them, realize that they can't fail themselves in the same way, and so they have to pick themselves up and they have to swallow their pride and walk back in and finish what they started, because if you don't have that piece done, you can't get on to the rest of it.
YouthBuild started about 45 years ago in Harlem. A woman who still is the executive director of YouthBuild USA now started the program 45 years ago. And basically, she saw young people standing day after day on corners, not doing anything, idle in front of vacant and abandoned buildings. And she asked them if there was anything you could do to get yourself back on track, what would it be? And they said, we would fix up this tenement house and make it so that that people could live in here. There are 275 YouthBuild sites across the country, and it's an international program now. We are in 5 or 6 other countries across the world. We are because the model works. The model is set up to help young people impact each piece of their life, to impact the social service side of their life, and address their barriers, to address their academic barriers, to address their vocational barriers, to really figure out who they are as a leader, and then to provide strong service for young people, getting them placed into jobs, college, or both.
And they realize that unless they get more training, and that can be through the GED or the job training, that they're not going to be in a position to keep improving.
I was at a point in time in my life where I haven't accomplished a lot of things, so I went to a counselor, and I told her the issues that was involved in my life, and she said, "You had the GED?" And I told her no, so she referred me to a counselor at YouthBuild and took some testing and got accepted.
So they come trying to make changes. While they're here, we work with them to have better relationships. We work to show parenting skills. We try to integrate it all together so that you just assimilate it and it becomes part of what you do.
The life skills we teach are everything from just general work ethic to like how to really excel as a person in your position, in your job. The kind of character, personal habits that you have outside of work that really affect and reflect on your job and in your job, and allow you to really excel, and not just have a job and maintain it, but to just excel in the job.
The skills that YouthBuild has taught me is math, English, of course, writing. Those things I use daily. Giving estimates. I wouldn't be able to give an estimate if I didn't know how to properly read a tape measure, learn square footage, linear foot, height, things of that nature. English itself, I'm constantly writing emails, being able to use, proper English when you talking to a client. You don't want to be talking any kind of way. And those skills itself has really put me ahead of the curve with some business owners as well.
All along the way, not only are we teaching various types of carpentry, plumbing, electrical skills and knowledge, but also just life skills, mentoring, and friendship.
Many of our young people have chosen to leave school, but many of them have chosen to leave school under duress. And what I mean by that is they've been asked to leave school or told that they will never be able to finish school in the regular system.
I feel like a lot of doors were closed. It was hard to get a job. It was hard to get people to take you serious. It was hard to get any respect if you haven't finished high school and got an education.
And these individuals who come into our program, they don't have, not all of them, many of them don't have the support structure in place. And people who have told them, you can do it, you can make it happen. And so when they get that from YouthBuild, we kind of just become their family.
I was really shy when I first started. I've always been shy, always been real shy. And within probably 3 weeks of being here, they just brought me out my shell. Everybody's real friendly and kind of pulls you out of your shell even if you don't want to. And it got to the point where I was excited to wake up and come to school. I just fell in love with it.
The young people at YouthBuild Louisville are able to earn a college scholarship when they complete 675 hours of service. And they do that in a number of ways. They build low-income housing, we implement and develop gardens in the community, we do service projects and participate in policy development throughout the community.
From here, I'm gonna use my scholarship to go to JCC, and I haven't exactly figured out what I wanna do with it yet as far as college. But I know that I'm gonna use my PACT and my certification to do a carpentry job until I figure out exactly what I wanna go to college for.
I want to go to the University of Louisville and study sports medicine before I got into YouthBuild. But like I said, I really like construction now, and I'm kind of juggling in between. So I might just go to college and do business management and become my own contractor.
This is a great head start. This is a program that you can come in and not only they're giving you a path, but you're seeing people that's followed that path and have succeeded.
Over time, they start developing this sense of I can do, and with the I can do, then they start developing a greater sense of hope, a greater sense that they don't have to give up on themselves. Even if other people have given up on them, or if doors have closed for them, or if they've closed doors for themselves, it doesn't matter. At this point, they're going to be able to open those doors.
Yeah, YouthBuild has opened my eyes to what my goals should be, especially compared to what I thought they should be to now. My goals have completely changed, completely. And I've got my head on right now, finally.
I joined YouthBuild, learned the basic carpentry skills. I did really well as a student. They hired me on the next year. I got to work with the construction managers side by side, learned some of the estimates, day in, day out, daily things, and eventually I ventured out and started my own business.
I think if there's one thing that I would want folks to know about young people who drop out of school is that they haven't lost their intelligence, they haven't lost their ability to achieve, they've lost their resilience to achieve. And part of what needs to happen for young people is that they need opportunities to see that they are smart, that they are able to achieve, and they are able to be the people that they want to be.
Some of us are easy to give up on ourselves. You know, I used to have a litmus test. They say, when is it okay to give up with the kids that you serve? And I say, well, you know, whenever you think it's okay to give up on yourself. And I realized that some people are okay after them being hard. So no, I'm okay with people giving up on me. I deserve it. And so I changed it. I said, maybe the test ought to be when you think it's okay for someone to give up on your child, on somebody that you love and believe in.
I actually found it really hard to ask for help because after so much of me asking, I felt like it was never working and I just gave up on myself.
I was failing quizzes and tests and everything, and I didn't want that. When I was getting them results back, it kind of hurt me because I always wanted the results that other people got.
I want to be clear that the public schools, I don't think that there are people there who are ill-willed. I don't think there are people there who are trying to manipulate and drop students out. The reality is that the way public schools, large public schools are structured is so that students fail. Large numbers of students fail.
Like I'll be in class with a bunch of 30 students in one classroom. It was a lot of chaos. I wasn't learning anything, and it was a lot of students that refused to do work.
I was struggling a lot as a student. I was on an F, D, you know, that's all I used to get because I wasn't getting the help that I needed.
Whenever I'm talking about kids who drop out of school, I usually ask the question, did they drop out or were they pushed out? Because I think when you stop and think about it, very often it's very clear.
The teachers, they were always picking on me and telling me, you know, you're not gonna do good. And So, I mean, I knew I wasn't gonna graduate because if I would have went in this year, I would have got dropped because I had low GPA.
I've had young people come and tell me, well, when I turned 16, Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so told me that, you know, now you're 16, you don't have to stay here any longer, right? And when they withdraw, of course, it's voluntary, but there was a push. There was a subtle suggestion that maybe this isn't the appropriate place for you, or maybe you're not welcome here, and it would be time for you to move on.
And this has actually been documented, at least in case studies of schools, of saying, well, one way we can both raise our graduation rates and raise our test scores is get rid of the students who are most likely to do poorly on the tests and are less likely to graduate.
And that's got some serious ramifications for someone who is looking for themselves in a period of adolescence, trying to be clear about who they are, where they come from, being proud of who they are, and trying to figure out, where do I go next?
We are blowing off a whole population of learners because we always have. There's not much in place for the alternative education student, certainly not much in place for people that are on that list to receive the GED. I strongly see a trend in focusing efforts on gifted and talented students, and a lot of that has to do with so many states becoming so focused on standardized test scores. And as you know, the special ed population is not that market. Neither is the alternative education student, or the GED student is not that market.
In my opinion, there is an incentive system that operates, which is an incentive for schools to get rid of the kids that are most difficult to educate. And that's, I think, a problem. The tension or the dilemma kind of is if you're most interested in the welfare of the student, then you'd want to find that environment where the student's likely to be most successful. And maybe, in fact, it is in an alternative school or in another school.
An alternative school is an opportunity for young people who are looking for a second chance to be able to complete their high school diploma. It's also an alternative for our young people, as they describe it, to opt out of the public school system and go to a place where they feel like they belong.
There are students who don't fit in or can't go to regular schools. Either they've been suspended, expelled, they have an arrest record, they're pregnant, or they just can't stand the routine of showing up every day at 8 o'clock and having to turn in homework on a regular basis and stuff.
As a society, we should care about what happens to these children that are pushed out of school or drop out of school, because in the end, they end up in dire conditions, either in jail or prison, or they end up in very low-wage jobs, and we end up as taxpayers having to pick up the health bill or having to pick up the welfare bill. And instead, if we start to invest early in them, we create a generation, a group of people that are filled with opportunities to move up in society.
At the age of 16, I didn't have dreams. I didn't have hope. For me, I felt like I would be lucky if I lived past 18.
Halfway through my sophomore year, I ended up being pregnant. I got pregnant at 17.
The people behind are just gonna leave them behind. And that was me. I was left behind.
Find a chair.
My name is Matthew Rodriguez. I'm the principal of Albizu Campos Puerto Rican High School. All of our students who come to our school are considered, they're labeled as what's called a dropout.
Which part of our group right now is prepared to have the top GPA in the month of October? Which one?
In the traditional public education model, what the teachers and what the administrators were doing was saying, well, it's clear to us that these young people don't care about their education. It's clear to us that they're lazy, they don't want to do their homework, they don't want to do their assignments. It's clear to us that their parents don't really have education as a value. It's clear to us that their community doesn't care about education.
When they're leaving, I felt like school was ended for me. I was like, man, you know what, I'm pregnant, there's nothing I can do. I'm gonna be another statistics that gonna be, be another, dropped out of school, pregnant.
They come into our school with the feeling of this inferiority complex. I can't learn fast enough like everyone else. I don't understand. I'm dumb. I can't do this.
At my old school, it was like if you didn't care, they didn't care, you know? So it was like if you didn't want to pay attention, they weren't going to pay attention to you.
How did the Spaniards feel about the Taino priest? Like he was nothing? Explain.
What they do is they take the amount of time that needs to be taught, they take the amount of instruction that needs to be there, and those remain constant. And what happens is learning varies. And what the creators of Albizu Campos believed is that equation was wrong. In fact, what needs to vary is the amount of time that students have to be able to learn a concept, the amount of instruction that a teacher provides, so that way the constant is learning.
One of the biggest differences that I like the most about this school is that it's smaller. So every student gets the attention that they really deserve and need, and they focus more on you and the individual abilities that each student has and how we're all different.
Our young people in the 70s and even now have to face not having parents in the household, whether because they're incarcerated or because they're in rehab or because they just are not there. We have young people who are in their homes and have to negotiate space because they have 2 and 3 and 4 families living in one household. And it's difficult to know where they're going to be sleeping at night, where they're going to be getting their food in the morning, where they're going to be able to have their clean clothes to go to school the next day.
But the supports and services that we offer for our youth come based on those very experiences, those very challenges that our students face.
If they know that we're failing, they take us out. Hey, you know what? Come on, I need to talk to you. 15, 20 minutes to figure out what's going on with us. They keep us on track. They call us. If they need to send an email out, hey, man, this student, something's going on with the student. She's failing. She was doing good, and now she's losing track.
Instead of saying you're absent, bad student, you need to be in school, we say, well, what's going on? Why are you choosing to stay home? If we listen, and we'll hear what the reasons are, and then we have what we need in order to prepare our interventions appropriately.
One of the things that also sets our school apart is that we have a different kind of curriculum.
As a school founded by and still working in the Puerto Rican community, we are dead set on making sure that our cultural history, our people's history is preserved and passed on.
It's about how you make that lesson relate to that student's life and allow it to relate to their experiences and what they believe their future can be. Albizu Campos did that greatly for us. But for the first time, we felt like we were the individuals in the books. Like when the teacher was lecturing to us, they were lecturing about us.
So in addition to all of the standardized testing, there's this rigorous process in our school called the senior portfolio process, where the students have to defend their right to graduate. They can do that by showing grades, by showing progress in a class, by showing examples of work for different classes. They can do that by being able to show their involvement in community activities.
I'm involved in 72 Block by Block, which is a diabetic empowerment center, which I help with other patients who are diabetic. I counsel them. I help them with like taking their their pressure.
So it's a comprehensive view of who the student is at that point in their life.
Last year we had a retention rate of 73%. Whereas in the larger public school system, you have a retention rate of between 54 and 55%. Of our senior class last year, 80% were scheduled to be involved with college or post-secondary placement. We have an attendance rate of about 82%. And again, these are students who, for whatever reason, right, in their previous schools never came to school, had 50, 55 days absent, who are now coming to Albizu Campos and celebrating perfect attendance every month.
When a student clicks, and they say, I can, and sometimes it's I can for the very first time in their educational experience. I can do this. I can be successful. I can go to college. I can get an A in that class. And it just shoots from there, you know? It's really beautiful to be able to witness.
So I graduated with a bachelor's degree in justice studies. I walk in December at Northeastern Illinois University, but I have plans to go into UIC and go into the field of education.
I love everything about the school, everything about it. Like, now I am in honors, like I'm embracing honors. I've been having straight A's for almost half a year now. I had perfect attendance for half a year already.
I'm on the basketball team, and I'm also in a Pana Council representative. So I'm doing those activities now. I stay after school for study hall and just keep my grades up there and, you know, be on the basketball team.
Because there's a generation of young people now who are going to college, who are doing the things that they need to do because they believe in a greater picture. They believe that it's all possible for them now.
Doing community service with YouthBuild has really changed me a lot because I never knew that giving back to someone could feel so good. I never knew that literally doing something for a complete stranger would make you feel so good, just knowing that they don't have to do anything or even a thank you or nothing, just that sense of, I don't know, just wholeheartedness. It's just there, and I never knew that was possible.
You won't stop. That's a can't stop. Won't stop, can't stop.
This program is part of American Graduate. Let's make it happen. A public media initiative made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.